welcome to another episode here for the Funkapod, Mindful Media and Communication. And I started a podcast in English again, not in Spanish, which means I'm back in Thailand. That's why the Saudi Cup, obviously. So back from my quick trip to the other end of the world, and I'm not exaggerating. It's almost the exact opposite of the world, exact, but kinda. 27 hours on the plane, twice within 1 week. Jet lagged AF, as the kids would say. Would the kids say that? I'm not sure. But still back in your life here with a new episode of the Funkapod. And well, I figured I've been to so many AI events now, speaking, organizing, and so on. I will use my knowledge that I gained over the last few weeks to just quickly recap this. In particular, there were two big events that I went to. Of course, the conference in Buenos Aires on Communication Media 24, where I spoke on AI, ethical implications, AI implications on storytelling and the like. And then we also just organized the first ever AI and communication hackathon here at our university. And there are also some interesting insights to take away from. So that's what's happening now in the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. So buckle up, strap in, here we go. AI in your face. Because you don't get enough AI anywhere else. But hopefully we're adding some interesting wrinkles to it. So, all right, back from the conference, and that's gonna be one of the first things I will mention. But before I go down the particulars in this regard, let me quickly set the scene to see what's actually hype, what's real, and so on, right? So, obviously, AI is still the hot topic for a year now, right? At the time of recording, OpenAI just dropped ChatGPT search. So now premium users can search the web via ChatGPT. So actually ask questions and ChatGPT will look in real time into search engines. Okay. Very interesting. I didn't research too much just yet because podcast comes first, but I will do it right after. Interesting move. Can it combat Google? Who's to say? Not sure yet. If it's not going to happen overnight, obviously, Google has such a stronghold on the search market that no one's going to just take it from them. But definitely an interesting move, and it remains to be seen if people are going to use it. But as you see, it's still, there's so much happening, right? It's been the hot topic for a year, but it's still, or more, but there's still so much happening, which is kind of crazy. And everybody now seems to have a take, right? Journalists, content creators, influencers, your grandmother. At the conference, the buzz was obviously also everywhere because, it's very much AI focused with the themes and topics. But instead of just debating how fast AI can write articles or make images, kind of boring by now, if you're honest, the focus was on how it's fundamentally changing storytelling, interaction, and maybe even perception of what's real and what's not real. Okay. And also this feeling that we're at this big turning point right now where AI isn't just this shiny new tool, it's nice to have. It's becoming a part of the story itself, which I think is very important to understand. Now, of course, it's exciting for some, maybe a little bit terrifying for others, because as we all know, not all tech revolutions live up to the hype, and maybe some even take weird turns in between, right? But before I dive into the conference details, let me quickly tell you about that hackathon that we just ran at the university, okay? So it was 2 days of high energy brainstorming, a little bit of coding, and a bit of organized chaos, okay? The goal was to get students thinking about AI's real world applications in media and communication, everything from journalism to audience engagement, you name it, okay? We started things off with our dean's opening. Then we had a few keynote speakers. I mentioned a few things. We had a team building expert to help with building teams. Shout out to also the sponsor of the whole hackathon, Teams Training Thailand. Check them out if you're into team building and the like. And we had an AI and machine learning specialist there as well to get the students really, really focused on the task at hand. So this starting off, especially with the team building focus centered keynote, added like lots of energy to it, which was pretty cool. Like it's different to like a typical lecture, right? Then afterwards we had our student teams, or students finding teams and diving into projects that aim to use AI not just to automate, like send automated emails or chatbots or something, but to actually amplify the depth and I want to say even creativity in media and communication. And some of them they worked on media analysis tools, for example. Others try to predict trending content, for example. It was pretty cool and fascinating to watch them realize that AI isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about revealing insights that, for example, journalists might miss on their own, that content creators might not be familiar with, and so on. And here's what I loved the most, actually, because it wasn't just about tech, but the students, they all brought like a healthy dose of skepticism, which is pretty cool. Yeah, which is, if you're honest, actually exactly what we need, right? Especially like in this tech-heavy field. You need media professionals who are not just tech savvy, but also questioning what AI should and shouldn't do. So yes, I think we're on the right track here, raising a generation that's all about, well, mindful media and communication. But hey, let's all the props to our students, of course, but let me share what the older people were saying this past week. So at the conference, more academic focused conference, and in this case, usually I attend more industry related conferences. There's usually more development happening from my humble point of view. Please don't hate. But this one was an academic heavy conference, so let me quickly pivot to that conference and pardon me, start with like one of the main talking points: ethics. If any of my students is listening, they're like, "Oh God," because and basically on every lecture I have like one ethics slide, so just as a reminder, okay? Because if you thought the ethical concerns with regular tech were like a headache, and yes, especially Germans think that way, but embrace yourselves, okay? Because AI, different on a different level. Because my own presentation at this conference focused on AI-driven storytelling and potential pitfalls, and it was pretty eye-opening to hear also other speakers talk about it and have some of the different takes as well. But one big concern is that AI doesn't come with a moral compass, right? It simply reflects the biases, quirks, blind spots, and the like of the creators. So there's no like built-in safety mechanism. And if there's one, then the safety mechanism is built by the biased engineers, because we all have our biases, we all have our agendas and alike. So if you're not careful, AI could end up amplifying those quirks, blind spots, and alike on a massive scale. Okay, so we're talking about algorithms that could be as biased as like a tabloid headline, for example, right? And just as, or maybe even harder to retract. Because once it's out there, it's out there. So the privacy conversation was also pretty unavoidable. In addition to that, we had the bias, we had privacy, right? AI is data hungry, and that often means personal data. So imagine you're pulling out all your secrets into like a digital diary, for example. Okay, who does it? But like, let's be honest, your social media is basically your diary, right? So let's imagine you have everything out there, only for AI to create like personalized content based on it for everybody to see. So the take-home message from that would be: use AI, use it with caution, or you might risk a digital dumpster fire. This is not to say that I'm against AI. I'm not. I use it a lot. But we have to be aware of those two big problems, right? Bias, because what data are we using? What data is AI using? Is the data unbiased? And is AI unbiased? And what about privacy? Well, again, which data is AI scraping? Where is it storing? How long is it storing? And the like. and who gets access to it, right? But there are a few more talking points that I found pretty interesting. That we had actually some very interesting discussions at the conference as well. So one of the other discussion points was like, I hesitate again because when I hesitate, it means like I'm thinking while I'm talking. Because we also talked about like AI's like fantastic skills. Can I say that? Like how AI can produce fantastic content, okay? Because there was one research that was interesting. So they used AI to actually produce cultural relevant content. The thing though is then, can AI create it by itself just yet, like content with cultural nuances? And the research suggested not yet, okay? Because cultural sensitivity is still kind of like part of AI, but it's not been trained or exposed enough, I guess. Because AI can only be as sensitive as the data that it's trained on, right? Which isn't always saying that much. So the conversation then from there shifted towards how AI could tell stories that resonate across different cultures and different target audiences, but without it sounding like just pulling facts from Wikipedia, right? Because if you want to appeal to different audiences, to different cultures, you have to talk in the language of the audience, of the culture. But how do you do that to sound like natural? Right? One speaker pointed out that I found quite interesting how AI media could foster inclusivity if it's programmed to actually understand it. Otherwise, we're looking at the same old biases, of course, just in like a fancy new packaging. The potential is there, but we need AI that can, I want to say, adapt to diverse narratives without causing like those cultural face palms. How do we get there? More data. But where do we get the data from? See the previous point. Now we're on to something, right? And this then leads me to like a few more quick takeaways, because we also discussed the role of AI in shaping like future media narratives. Okay, so we looked at the future a little bit, and we see that AI is already transforming storytelling, of course, not just as a tool, but as a collaborator, right? The way we produce it, the way we engage with content and the likes. And at the conference, there are lots of examples of AI-powered interactive experiences and tools that predict audience preferences before they even realize them, and so on. It's like a digital psychic. Like, you remember Sean from Psych? It's kind of like AI, right? A little bit less intuitive, more relying on the data, of course. And the kicker here is, of course, that AI can add new layers to storytelling, making it more engaging, but it does still miss that human touch to some extent. At least for now, right? Machines aren't really known for their like grasp of metaphors, subtle sarcasm, and so on. Let's just imagine like a robot explaining a joke. It's like listening to someone read a dictionary, I guess. However, because, and that's also part of my presentation, like we always say that humans have like the creativity edge, right? Yeah, so, and of course the human brain is still faster than every computer and so on. Yeah, we're making better connections, blah, blah, all true. Question is, do we need that? Because when we look at like what content is being consumed, is it always the best content, the most thoughtful content that's being consumed, or is it the content that gets the audience to be like, yeah, good enough, double tap next, right? So we don't need to have the super mega awesome creative content. We just need to have the content that makes the audience go like, interact. And I think that is what AI can do already, and that's annoying, scary, frustrating, all of the above. And I think that's something that basically no researcher, that no media company, that no one's focusing on. Yes, we are more creation computers, of course we are, but we don't need to be, because the consumers, you, me, everybody, it's an old reference, we are okay with content that's just okay. That's a problem. Another takeaway when it comes to an AI and media education is that if we look back at the hackathon, right now I jump a little bit, but so many thoughts in my head. Like the students didn't just go like hands-on with AI, they actually learned about importance of creative problem solving, for example, teamwork, and of course also the value of asking actual questions to the mentors that we had there. So shout out to the mentors as well. Because like 2 days of hackathon, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, right? And that's the thing, if you want the future of AI needed to be ethical, creative, culturally aware, and so on, it's gotta start in education. Yeah. Now I jump back and forth, but at the conference, I had a question from the host of the track actually, and he asked me later on. He's like, "Yeah, but hey Sasha, so how do we ensure that the audience and so on, that they are aware of the pitfalls and that they care more about privacy?" Yeah, it starts here. It starts with us. It's not like we can't look anywhere else. It starts with us. So we need to give the students the tools to innovate responsibly and the freedom to question like what's fed to them by the machine overlords, so to speak. It's a simple idea. If you raise critical thinkers today, we won't have robots running amok tomorrow. At least that's the hope, kinda. So raise critical thinkers, okay? Teachers, professors, and so on. Questions are tough, questions are intense, they're exhausting, and they're good and they're needed. So make your students ask questions and embrace them, okay? Now more important than ever. Okay, my last takeaway, it's or thought, if you will. What's next? What's the future look like in AI and media communication, right? So that's kind of like the $1,000,000 question. And as AI is continuing to evolve and adapt, and well, hopefully not taking over just yet, not entirely. Some at the conference, they predicted a future where we are watching movies, reading books, maybe even attending like conferences created entirely by AI. Sure. But realistically, AI is a tool, a super powerful one, but it does need oversight. Because without a human touch, we're just handing over like our stories to the algorithms. You see the world in like black and white, right? And that might be able to create content that we enjoy for a second. We go like, and then we move on. But is that what we're really longing for? I hope not. Okay, I really hope not. So as we wrap up, we understand that AI is changing the media in ways we never expected, from international conferences to local hackathons. Right? The message here is like, AI is powerful, but it's only as good as the people guiding it. And whether we're working on like hackathon projects or sharing ideas at like global conferences, the human touch, it's also the headline of my final slide, by the way, is key. And think of it this way, if AI is the hammer, we're still the ones building the house. For now. So don't give that away, okay? And ideally, when we're building the house, here's to no nails being missing, because we're not IKEA, okay? So thanks for tuning in again to this jet-lagged episode of the Funky Pod. I promise next time I will be more energetic again. But if you're intrigued or concerned in all things AI, then check out more on the topic that we have on AI.com Lab, AI.com, AICOMMLAB, AIComLab.com. There are more publications on the topic, more information, more links and all that. Until then, stay safe, take care. Don't let the robots take over just yet. Let them know, write your comments yourself, write comments, give us reviews, because it's very much appreciated. And let me know how you feel about that whole AI in media thing. We talk next time. Until then, Sawadee Krap.